Dear friends, this is day 1074 of Russia's war against the civilized world. Russians claim to have killed General Budanov again. Russian terrorists hit civilian infrastructure in Ukraine, and Putin responded to pressure on his oil industry with escalating hybrid warfare in Europe. Let's talk about it right now. Missiles, drones and bombs were used to hit Ukrainian cities tonight by the Russian terrorists. In Poltava, part of the apartment building was completely destroyed. The Russian terrorist attack took life of 3 civilians and 13 more people, including 3 little children, were wounded. In Kharkiv, a Russian drone hit another apartment building. The Russians killed a 60-year-old woman and injured 4 more people. In total, the Russian strikes were recorded in Zaporizhia, Sumy, Odessa, Kharkiv, Khmelnytsky, and Kyiv Oblast. One of the attacks took place in Odessa, where the Russian terrorists hit historical downtown, causing damage to civilian property. Among the damaged buildings, there was a Bristol hotel. Of course, it's not the first case when Russian missiles deliberately strike hotels, kindergartens or pizzerias. However, this time Russian media claimed eliminating another General Budanov. I didn't count all the previous cases, but I think it's 10th or maybe 20th General Budanov killed by the Russian terrorists over the past 3 years. Among the most known cases, one General Budanov, according to the Russian media, was hit back in 2022 while he was hiding in his office under a bridge in Ukrainian downtown. I think the quote sounded about like that. Apparently, it was a really narrow and long office. I have no idea. Anyways, in a different case, another General Budanov was hit by a Russian missile on the bottom of River Dnipro in the secret underwater base. Russians have a really hard time trying to understand what kind of magic is this. How come Ukrainian generals keep respawning while 13 Russian generals are known to be dead and buried? However, in reality, the explanation is very simple, my friends. Whenever the Russian terrorists hit another hotel or kindergarten in Ukraine, they need to somehow justify it. In Kramatorsk, for example, they reported hitting several hundred British soldiers in a pizzeria. In Azovstal, they reported eliminating 50 NATO generals, and this is exactly the same case in Odessa. In the meantime, General Budanov today reacted to the Slovak Prime Minister Fico, accusing Ukrainian Georgian Legion and the main intelligence directorate in planning a coup in Slovakia. The main intelligence directorate of Ukraine rejected all the accusations and also stated that the Georgian Legion is not a subordinate unit of the Ukrainian military intelligence. And fact is, my friends, Fico doesn't have a slightest clue that Ukrainian ground units and special operations forces are 2 completely different departments. Why does he even need to know it, right? So what do we know about the situation in Slovakia at this point? We know that recently massive protests took place in Slovakia against the pro-Russian agenda of the Slovak government. On 31st of January, Fico had a large press conference where he accused Ukraine on preparing a coup involving Slovak opposition in cooperation with Ukrainian intelligence and Georgian Legion. In addition, Fico announced advanced security measures to be implemented against the future protests. From strategic standpoint, such accusations serve multiple purposes. First of all is diverting public attention, of course. So by attributing internal dissent to foreign interference, Fico shifts the narrative from domestic policy criticism to national security concerns. Second is justifying enhanced security measures. Citing the alleged coup plots, the government can implement stricter security protocols around protests and different mass actions, which involve suppressing opposition activities under the guise of maintaining order. Basically, they do it all the time in the totalitarian countries like Russia, Belarus, Iran, or China. And third reason, of course, is discrediting opposition. By linking opposition figures to foreign conspiracies, Fico undermines their legitimacy and portrays them as agents of external powers, and this is obviously done to erode public support. So how does this situation benefit Russia? So first of all, by supporting leaders like Fico who propagate narratives of Ukrainian interference and demonizes Ukraine, Russia can achieve several objectives. Objective number one is eroding the unity within the European Union. Internal conflicts within EU member states, especially those involving allegations against Ukraine, actually work really well to strain relationships and weaken the collective decision-making. And as we all remember, this is something that Russia always aims at disrupting the unity and sowing discord between the partners. So second objective is undermining NATO support for Ukraine. The accusations of Ukrainian meddling can lead to skepticism among NATO members regarding support for Ukraine, for example, or potentially reducing military aid and political backing. And this is something we can already see today, my friends, because, for example, recent updates show that some European countries still cannot decide whether they want to send their peacekeepers to Ukraine or not. And third objective is promoting pro-Russian policies, because leaders that are sympathetic to Moscow can influence their countries to adopt Russian policies or policies that are favorable to Russia, such as opposing sanctions or advocating for negotiated settlements on terms beneficial to the Kremlin, which is exactly what Fico does every single day. Of course, direct evidence of Putin orchestrating Fico's actions is not publicly available. However, we still have leaked data on Fico, who wanted to give out the national assets of Slovakia to Putin in 2013. But we can also clearly see that Fico's allegations against Ukraine, the allegations that absolutely lack substantial evidence and coincide with Russian objectives, indicate a high likelihood of Kremlin's involvement or at least endorsement. And given the broader context of Russia's geopolitical strategies, I think it's plausible that Putin is leveraging his influence over Fico to destabilize the European Union, of course, and discredit Ukraine on the international stage, of course. With that, my dear friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please share this episode, and traditionally, I will see you in the commentaries. I'm operator Starsky. As always, be safe.